what I want to talk to you about this evening. What I want to talk to you about is taking the leap. I want you to take the leap. And the reason why I bring this up is because I know that many of us have gotten to that place in our life where we realize that we are someplace and we're ready and we're willing to get to the next level. We're ready and we're willing to open up a new door, to go after a new opportunity. And where you are right now in your current relationship, or where you are right now in your current set of circumstances, or where you are right now in your job, in your career, is not necessarily the best place that you want to be right now. And so you know that this is the time to get to the next level, but the only way that you're going to get there is it's going to require that you exercise some level of faith, and it's going to require that you take the leap. And let me be the first one to tell you, I know that can be very scary. And the reason why I bring this up is because I have one of my friends right now that was just trying to get a little insight from me, because he's been working literally as an employee for basically all of his professional life. And now he's at the place where he's thinking about opening and really starting his own business and starting his own practice with his wife. And he knows that this is something that he wants to do. He knows that this is something that he needs to do. But there's a part of him that's a little afraid. And he's afraid to take a chance. He's afraid to leave his job. He's afraid to leave the security of getting a paycheck that comes to his bank account every 2 weeks. And he's afraid of stepping out there and being an entrepreneur, because this is all new to him. And so when I was listening to him and he was asking me for my input, I could relate, because I can remember the time that I was still working in corporate America, and I was in the exact same place. I was working a corporate job for a wonderful company, but there is something inside me which I knew that it was time for me to take a leap. It was time for me to step out on faith. It was time for me to open up the corridor. And so maybe perhaps you're there right now in your life where you are currently in a set of circumstances, or you are in a career, or you're at a certain place in your life that you understand, and it's very clear to you that the only way that you're going to get to the next level is if you're willing to have a little bit of courage, and that you're willing to sort of jump off the cliff. And so here's what I want you to be thinking about right now. I want you to think for a moment about where you are right now, and then I want you to think about what it is that you would like to see happen in your life. And so normally there is a gap between where you are and where it is that you want to be. Now, here's the thing. How do you get from where you are to where do you want to be? How do you fill the gap? How do you get from one end to the other? And so here's what you may not realize. Here's maybe what you may not even want to accept is, at some point, you've got to be willing to take the leap. You've got to be willing to literally jump from where you are right now to where it is that you want to be. And so let me go ahead and dispel a couple of myths for you. So first of all, here's the first thing I need you to realize is that whatever fear you're experiencing right now, as you consider taking this leap of faith to start the new career, to start the business, to make yourself open again to dating, if maybe perhaps you've been hurt in the past, the only way that you're going to take the leap of making something significant and different happen in your life, realize this, and I hope and I wish I could tell you that at some point, whatever fear that you're experiencing right now is going to completely go away. And unfortunately, it doesn't quite work that way. And so the reason why I bring that up is because, one of the things I was trying to explain to my friend is that you literally have to acknowledge the fact that you're fearful, and you have to be willing to take the leap anyway. And so in other words, even though you're afraid of starting this new career path, even though you're afraid of maybe going back to school and getting this other degree, even though you're afraid of starting the business, even though you may be afraid of writing the book, even though you may be afraid of this next level in your life, then what I need you to understand is that you still have to be willing to take some form of action. And so the thing I was trying to make my friend realize and understand, and hopefully you can understand this as well, is that whenever you make the decision or you're contemplating the decision to take a leap in your life so that you can get to the next level, what's normally going to be holding you back is a series of fear. And the fear is, well, what if it doesn't work out? The fear is, how am I going to support myself? The fear is, well, what are other people going to think of me? The fear may be, I don't have it all figured out. And so what we hope and what we think is that at some point all the fear is going to subside and all the fear is going to go away. And then at that moment, we're going to move forward and go after our goals and our dreams. But unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. Unfortunately, you have to be willing to jump and move forward. You have to be willing to take the leap in spite of the fear. And so I can tell you, when I was in that crucial place, I wish I would be able to tell you that I wasn't fearful. I wish I could tell you that, you know, that I had it all figured out. But unfortunately, it wasn't like that. I was afraid. And what I was afraid of primarily was that maybe perhaps that things were not going to work out for me, and I was going to have to face the embarrassment of maybe having to go back and ask for my job. I was afraid that you know, somehow, some way, that maybe perhaps I wasn't going to be able to manage and pay all my bills because I had gotten accustomed to a certain income level working my corporate job. And so what happens is oftentimes that fear that you begin to experience, that fear will begin to sort of hold you back. That fear will oftentimes paralyze you. And so one of the biggest myths, and one of the things that I believe that keeps a lot of people from taking the leap, is that they believe that fear is going to go away. So let me dispel that right now. The fear that you're experiencing right now, it may subside, it may become reduced, but it will resurface, it will come up. And so you've got to acknowledge the fear, but you got to be willing to move forward and act anyway. That's why Joyce Meyer said you got to feel the fear and do it anyway. In other words, she said you got to do it afraid. You've got to be willing to do it afraid. And so that was one of the things that I was trying to explain to my friend. I said, listen, man, you know, this fear that you're experiencing right now, this fear is not going to go away. You've got to be willing to do it afraid. Now, here's the other myth, and here's the other thing that I've got to make sure that I dispel for you, is the notion and the thought and the idea that you're going to have it all figured out, right? And so this is the person that says, you know what, I will start the business once I have it all figured out. You know, I'm working on this business plan. Once I know exactly where all the resources are coming from, once I know exactly who I'm going to hire on my team, once I know where all my customers are going to be, once I know exactly how to position myself on the internet, once I know what all my products and services and the price points and everything else is going to be. And listen, here's the other thing is, another myth that you got to get past, the notion you got to get past, is that you're going to get it all figured out. And it's just not going to happen like that. Now, listen, here's what you got to come to a realization. You want to have just enough information to be able to take action. You want to have just enough information to be able to take the leap and move forward and go after your goals and your dreams. But as far as believing that you're going to get all the information that you need, that you're going to have everything that you need in order to move forward and make the decision to go after your goals and your dreams, it doesn't quite happen that way. And once you begin to sort of put your life on pause and you begin to just keep contemplating the decision, and you don't move forward because you keep trying to wait for more information and more validation and so forth, oftentimes what happened is months will go by, years will go by, and next thing you know, you're 10 years removed, still saying to yourself, oh man, I'm thinking about starting the business, I'm thinking about writing the book, I'm thinking about getting the education, the secondary education, whatever it might be. And so the second myth that I need to dispel for you is that you are not going to have all the information. So number one, the fear is not necessarily going to go away. Number two, you're not necessarily going to have all the information. Now, here's something else that's critical for you to understand. That when you're trying to think about moving forward and you're thinking about taking the leap, you're thinking about, you know, starting the business, you're thinking about, you know, taking on this new adventure, you're thinking about, you know, entering some new relationships. If maybe you've had a past relationship that failed and you were hurt really bad. Or you're thinking about coming up with a game plan to do something significant in your life. And so here's the other thing is that I need you to fully and truly comprehend is that oftentimes the longer that you wait to make the decision, the more difficult the decision will become to make. I'm going to say that one more time. The longer that you take to make the decision, the more difficult it will become for you to make the decision. And the reason why I bring that up is I was having this discussion with my friend and I said this to him. I said, let me ask you a question. 5 years from now, what do you envision yourself doing? And so without a second hesitation, he said that what he envisioned himself doing was actually owning and operating his private practice with his wife. And so he was very clear on that's what he wants to do and where he envisions himself within the next 5 years. And so what I needed him to understand is this, is that the longer he postponed making the decision to leave his current job right now and to go after his goal and his dream of owning his own private practice and starting his own business with his wife, the greater the likelihood that there's going to be more things that are going to surface in his life that are going to complicate the decision. And so what happens is when we are thinking about taking and making a significant move in our life, sometimes we want to hit the pause button and we're hoping that, somehow like some amazing corridor is going to spread. All of our responsibilities, we're going to have this like massive nest egg and we're going to have enough money saved up in our bank account to pay all our bills for like 2 years, that we're going to have all the right support, that we're not going to have any fear and all that. And it just doesn't work that way. And typically, the longer that you wait, the more difficult the decision will become to make. In other words, things will begin to surface. Other things will happen because even though you're waiting, life will not wait. And so other things will come up. And so maybe perhaps, maybe you have, if you already have a family right now, maybe your family will grow. Maybe you'll have another child, or maybe perhaps you've got some large expenses. And so there's a high probability that something will happen, like a large expense will come up. Your transmission will go in your vehicle. You'll find out that the interest rate went up on your loan or something, or the interest rate went up on your car loan or something. Something is likely to happen, or it doesn't always have to be something negative. It could be positive, where you end up getting a bonus, or you end up getting a raise at your current job, or you end up taking more responsibilities at your current job. And so now you're feeling as if you're starting to justify, well, I just got a raise. Maybe I should just stick around one more year. Or, oh my gosh, I've got all these extra responsibilities at the job. I don't know if I should make this decision. But what happens is, regardless of how it surfaces, whether it's something positive, like a raise, or whether it's something negative and your car breaks down, something will likely happen that's going to make the actual decision that you're considering doing. Something's going to happen to make that decision that much more difficult. And so I share that with you to say, don't wait. When it comes to your goals, when it comes to your dreams, when it comes to going after your opportunities, there is no better time than right now. I'm talking about right now. This is the time, this moment, to make the decision. This is the time, this moment, to go after your goals and your dreams. This is the time to get uncomfortable. This is the time to take a leap of faith. This is the time to step outside of your comfort zone. This is your moment. Why? Because you don't know what tomorrow will hold. You don't know what else is going to come. And I can guarantee you, the longer that you wait, the more difficult the decision will become for you to actually make. And so stop putting your life on hold. Stop putting this important decision that you have, that whatever this decision may be, to move forward and take the leap, to take your life to the next level, so that you can dig deep and learn some different things about yourself. Stop putting this thing on hold and expecting that something's going to happen. And so every once in a while, I run into another friend of mine, a wonderful guy, really great guy, that worked for my previous company. And I'm telling you, we are probably going on about 8 years, where I would run into him at least once a year, and we would have a conversation about how he was thinking about leaving his job and leaving his career to start something different, to do something else that he's a little more passionate about. And every single year, he postpones the decision. And now it has literally been 8 years, and he's still at his same job. Now, he's doing very well there at his job. But the truth be told, on the inside, both he and I know, and other people that he's confided in, that he has always wanted to step out and do something else. And because he has delayed the decision, because he has delayed taking action, that decision every single year becomes more and more difficult to make, because of the fact that every single year he gets more and more responsibility put on his plate. Every single year his income at his existing job goes up. Every single year that the decision becomes that much more difficult to make. And the reason why I bring that up is because I know that chances are right now, you probably have a decision that you are looking and willing to make right now, a decision that you've been hoping to make, and you've been putting that decision off. And you're hoping that by putting that decision off, that somehow, some miraculous, something's going to happen, that all of a sudden it's going to be that much more easier for you to make the decision. And I'm afraid to tell you, but chances are 9 out of 10 times that decision is only going to become more difficult for you to make. And so at some point, you got to be willing to take the leap. And so the beautiful thing is, once you take the leap, things will begin to happen that you didn't even anticipate. Once you actually take the leap, you're going to have new opportunities begin to present themselves. Once you take the leap, you're going to discover some things about yourself that you don't even know. Yesterday, I was at an event where I was sitting on the panel along with the editor-in-chief of Entrepreneur Magazine. And I ran into somebody who was there in the audience who was actually working for one of my past clients. As a matter of fact, he was responsible for signing my contract and bringing me into this particular client. And while I was there with the client, after he heard my presentation, I remember him pulling me aside and he said, Andy, listen, man, I'm so inspired by what you're doing. And he said, listen, man, I've been working on this idea, something that I've been wanting to do and I've been thinking about doing. And I'm thinking about leaving my career. I'm thinking about leaving my job to do this full time. And so the other day we were having a conversation. And the beautiful thing is he was willing to leave the job. He took the leap. And what he did is he invented this really, really cool device. It's called the Cut Buddy. And basically it's this thing that men can use to actually cut their hair if they don't want to make a visit to the barber, or if they're in between visits to the barbershop, they can actually, straighten up their hairline and make sure they look nice and neat. And so he actually sketched this design. He had the prototype created, and he actually got this thing created. And he started off just literally, making little YouTube videos, making phone calls, talking to friends and family, and selling this product. And so he decided to go ahead and take the leap and leave his job to go ahead and do this full time. Now, here's what I need you to understand. When he made the decision to leave his job and do this thing full time, he wasn't having like a ridiculous amount of sales. As a matter of fact, he was having a mediocre sales at the time, but he was 100% committed to growing his business and getting it off the ground. He was so committed that he was willing to quit his job and go after this thing and do this thing full time. Now, here's what the crazy thing is. I asked him, I said, man, listen, how are things going? He said, Andy, you won't believe this, man. He said, listen, I got onto YouTube and I saw some people who are on YouTube, and some of their YouTube channels, they had literally over 50,000 subscribers, and they had some of their videos on their YouTube channel had over like 100,000 views. And so he said, I reached out to some of those guys who were on YouTube who already had a massive following, and I told them about my product. And I told them that if they were willing to go ahead and put a quick video about my product, that I would give them a percentage of the sales from selling my product. And he said, man, I reached out to a couple of the guys, and 2 of the guys did a video. He said one of the guys who did the video shared the video and he posted it on YouTube. And after posting to YouTube, he had over 500,000 views. And then after he posted the video on YouTube, somebody else saw the YouTube video and actually put it on their blog. And I said, oh my goodness. I said, man, that's amazing. Well, what did that trigger? He said, Andy, you don't understand. He said, after that video went viral, he said, in less than 3 minutes, I sold out of all my products. He said, literally, I thought that there was a glitch going on in my Gmail account, because literally thousands of orders came in at one time as a result of this video going viral. And I looked at him, I said, man, that's awesome, man. I said, let me ask you a question. Have you been able to replace your income from your job? He said, man, replace my income? He said, yeah, I've gone way past my previous income. And the reason why I share that is because I need you to realize this. He didn't know that his product would eventually end up being that he would connect with these guys on YouTube. He had no idea that one of these guys would do a video and the video would end up having over 500,000 views. He had no idea that that video would end up being posted on a blog, and that eventually he would sell out of all of his products in a matter of a couple of minutes, and he would get thousands of orders in. He didn't know all of that prior to leaving his job. He didn't know all of that prior to taking the leap. But I'm a firm believer that it's a result of him taking the leap. You see, what happens is when you decide to take the leap in life, when you decide to go after your goals and your dreams, when you decide to stop playing it small, when you decide to step outside of your comfort zone, all of a sudden now opportunities begin to open themselves up. All of a sudden, you'll find people who are so in love with what it is that you're doing that they'll want to introduce you to somebody else, or they'll want to promote you, or they'll want to open a door of opportunity for you. But most of the time, these things will not begin to surface. These things will not begin to happen until you're first willing to take the leap of faith, until you're first willing to move forward and go forward. Listen, here's what Martin Luther King said. He said that faith is taking the first step, even when you can't see the entire staircase. And so we would love to pull back and say, you know what? I want to see the whole staircase. I want to have the whole game plan. I want to know how the business is going to take off. I want to know how I'm going to get this second degree. I want to know exactly how I'm going to pay all my bills and everything. And I wish I could tell you it works that way, but it just doesn't. And so what I'm hoping is that right now that you're going to realize that, you know what? Yes, you're going to be fearful at moments. And when you're fearful at those moments, you got to be willing to fear the fear and do it anyway. In other words, you got to do it afraid and understand that fear is just part of the process. And everything that you want right now is on the other side of fear. The other thing is that you got to understand is you're not going to have it all figured out. Stop trying to get it all figured out. You need to have just enough information so that you can make a decision. And so you've got to focus more on what you know as opposed to what you don't know. So stop focusing on the fact that you don't know the things, but rather, do you have enough information right now? Do you know enough to make this decision, whatever that decision may be for you? And the other thing is that I need you to understand is the longer that you delay making this decision, the longer that you take to move forward, the more difficult it will become for you to make this decision. So what it means is that this is your time. This is it right now. Right now is your time. This is the time to make a decision. This is the time to stop playing it small. This is the time to lean in. This is the time to start the business, to write the book, to go back and get the degree, to do whatever it is that you've been setting out to do. This is your moment. This is your time. And so what I'm saying to you is this is the time to take the leap. Stop playing it small. Stop second guessing yourself. Stop wondering if this is going to work out. And you need to think for a moment. What's the worst that could happen? That was the last thing I told my friend. I said, what's the worst that could happen right now? You know, you step out on faith and you start this business. And let's say you had some savings and maybe you deplete your savings and maybe the business doesn't work out. And so what's the worst that can happen? It doesn't work out. Big deal. You've got to maybe go back and get another job. Maybe you got to replenish your savings. But at least you know you took a chance on yourself. At least you know you went after your goals and your dreams. At least you know that 20 years from now, you won't be looking back and saying to yourself, what if I would have taken a chance on myself? What if I would have decided to write the book? What if I would have started the business? What if I would have decided to go ahead and open up my heart and be willing to enter a relationship again? What if I would have gotten serious about what it is that I wanted to go after my goals and my dreams? What if? And so what I need you to realize is that it's not worth it playing it safe. It's not worth it literally playing this game with yourself, but rather this is the time, this moment right now to take the leap. And so I'm inviting you for whatever that thing is for you. I don't know what your goals and your dreams are right now. I don't know what it is that you've been putting off, that you've been trying and been thinking about doing. But what I do know is that you can make this thing happen. And what I do know is it's very possible to keep playing games with yourself and keep postponing and delaying your dream. And this is the time to stop delaying your dream, stop delaying your destiny. And this is your time right now to step forward and start being serious about showing up for your life. So just take the leap. Stop being afraid and take the leap. You know, this wouldn't be Andy Henriquez if I didn't end by telling you this. Show up for your lives, ladies and gentlemen, because if you don't, nobody else will. All right. Well, listen, I am so excited and so grateful that you chose to tune in for the Show Up for Your Life motivational live stream as well as conference call. And first of all, before we open up the lines for the Q&A portion of this live stream, I want to invite you, if you haven't already done so, to get a copy of my newly released book, Show Up for Your Life, 7 Principles to Living an Extraordinary Life. In this book, I share 7 very powerful principles that regardless of where you are right now, if you know that there's a part of you that has a desire for more, if there's a part of you that no longer wants to subscribe to a life of mediocrity, if there's a part of you that wants to get to the next level, but you're just not quite sure how to do it, this book has the principles that's going to position you to be able to move forward, but most importantly, to put you in your power position to show up. And when I say show up, I'm talking about living out your destiny. I'm talking about living out your purpose. I'm talking about doing that thing that you've been called to do. I'm talking about doing more than just showing up and going to a job and just going through the motions. I'm talking about doing that thing that you've been called to do. And no, it's not always going to be easy, but it's going to be fulfilling. And it's going to allow you to do that thing that you know that's going to allow you to make tremendous impact and bring you the greatest amount of fulfillment in your life. And so if you haven't already done so, I want you to go to the website, showupforyourlifebook.com, showupforyourlifebook.com, and order your copy of the Show Up for Your Life book. I know this book is going to transform your life. If you already love purchasing items on Amazon, the book is available on Amazon. Or also, if you like to purchase, you can also purchase the book at Barnes & Noble's online. So you can purchase it on Barnes & Noble's. You can purchase it on Amazon. You can purchase it at Show Up for Your Life book. It's also available on Kindle, and it will eventually be available on Audibles. So I just want to make sure that I sort of put that out there. The other thing is I am looking forward. Just want to give a shout out for those of you who are flying in town, who are going to be joining me Saturday in Fort Lauderdale, Florida for the one-day storytelling intensive. I'm doing a one-day, full-day storytelling intensive with a very small group of individuals. We literally have 1 seat left. So if you are listening in right now and you're saying, oh my gosh, Andy, you know, I wanted to come to, a storytelling event. It is in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It is this Saturday. We do have 1 seat left. So if you would like to get that last and final seat, you can do so. Of course, you need to make sure you go, like, literally right now, go to storywithandy.com, storywithandy.com, put your information in, and we'll make sure that we reach out to you to give you the details to exactly how you'd be able to join us this Saturday in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And so like we always